Hello friends, every manufacturing process has different aspects. One such type of an aspect is called as lean manufacturing. So this is a lean manufacturing process which is adopted in all engineering industries in order to increase the productivity and quality and in reduction of cost, which in turn gives the profitability of the organization. Let us try to learn what is this lean manufacturing is all about. The lean manufacturing, it is a term which is referring to one of the manufacturing methodologies which maximizes the value and minimizes the wastes in any manufacturing process. So we need to know what is a value. A product, every product has a value. So a value is defined. It is about an item or a feature for which the customer or the consumer who is willing to pay in all aspects of the manufacturing process. And we need to know what is a lean manufacturing. It is the combination of a manufacturing process and the incorporation of a value towards a product. So this lean manufacturing is a tool which focuses on the value added features and eliminating the values. So in other terms, we can say this as a lean manufacturing is a process which eliminates waste and increases the profit of an organization. So this is what we see in this lean manufacturing. Ultimately, any industry that is going for lean manufacturing is going to maximize the value. How it is going to maximize the value is what we are going to see. Initially, what we need to do is to identify and map how the process is going to take place. And we need to create a flow by eliminating waste. So there are few waste which we are going to see, and those waste we are trying to eliminate it. And the customer needs to respond to the pull, and the pursuing perfection is what it matters. But if you see in this lean manufacturing process, it is not a process which starts at one point and ends at one point. It is a continuous improvement process for any organization. And finally, we need to know, or we need to identify what is the customer's satisfaction and the customer value which each and every one of the customers who is going to use this particular product. There are different types of work in which we focus on the lean manufacturing. We are trying to focus on only two things, that is nothing but the value adding and the non-value adding. Now the value adding. So what is the value added work we say? It is nothing but a valuable effort that we put into the work. It includes cost, time and cost money, and it adds value. So any product which you invest time and money which adds a value. But if you see about the non-value adding, it is obviously of waste. But it costs time, it costs money, but it adds no value to it. Anything that adds value becomes valuable, and anything that adds a non-value or anything that do not have any value, that becomes a waste. Now where do we draw a line between waste and non-waste elements? So this is what the gap, and we call that gap as a waste. And the company, a familiar company which is nothing but a Toyota, which defines the waste as anything other than the minimum amount of equipment, material parts and working time absolutely essential to production are called as the wastes. Anything that is needed, we use it, and something that is kept it for a long time, that we consider as a waste. And the American definition of waste is nothing but anything other than the absolute minimum resources of material, machine, manpower required to add value to the product. So even the minimum resources is also called to be the waste. So this waste, these are subjective to absolute minimum required. They are a weak basis for the agreement. Now we are going to concentrate upon waste. So once if we identify what is a waste and we work towards the elimination of waste, then that is called as the lean manufacturing processes. So every activity should be considered as a waste, unless or otherwise it meets an explicit customer requirement. We develop a product, and if that product is not suitable to any customer, then that is called as the waste, and it cannot be shown to be performed more economically. The amount, that is amount of time and the amount of value or amount of money that is invested in manufacturing any waste product is completely waste. So if this activity continues for a so long period, what do we have to do? We need to identify it, and we need to segregate it. What are the types and how much percentage of waste we do. So there are different types in a manufacturing sector where we can find waste. One is the defects, the motion and stock, transport, waiting, over processing and over production, and the remaining left out parts. So typically we can say that the 5% of what we do is adding a value, remaining that comes as a waste. So we are going to discuss about the 7 wastes of lean, and we are trying to reduce it. The first one is the inventory and the waiting time for a material, men, and the defects and the overproduction of any product, and the motion of material as well as men, and the transportation cost and the over processing of any product is found to be the 7 wastes of lean. So this 7 wastes of lean is categorized into one term which is called as muda. Muda in the Japanese word means waste. So first one, we say it is nothing but the overproduction. So overproduction, to produce sooner or faster or greater quantities than customers demand. If a customer is asking for only 5 products, and if you manufacture 7 products, then that is called as overproduction, and that we are telling it as a waste. Second one is the inventory, the raw material, work in progress or finished goods which is not having value, and we store it in an inventory, then that is called as the second type of waste, which is nothing but the inventory waste. Third one is the waiting. People are parts that wait for a work cycle to be completed. So we wait for any one operation to be completed, then that is also a waste. Motion, unnecessary movement of people, parts or machine within a process. So we would be segregating into one particular sequence, and if the particular sequence is not matching and the unwanted motion of men, material, machine is found to be the motion waste. Then the transportation, again it comes to the movement of people or parts between processes and rework. So that is what we call it as the quality check. When we go for a quality check or the error comes, whenever the error comes, we are going to rework that particular product again. So that we call it as a rework. And the over processing. Over processing is nothing but, for example, if I manufacture this particular mobile phone, if I manufacture for around 1 week, and actual time it has to be taken for is 10 days, means the 3 days, the extra of 3 days, we call it as the over processing. So these are the 7 ways that we see. So how we can able to remember this 7 ways for this lean? So there is a mnemonics to remember it. So one thing is TIMWOOD. So TIMWOOD, T transport, I inventory, M motion, W waiting, O overproduction, O overprocessing, and D is defect, or you can say WOMPIT. So again you can use these 2 words as a mnemonic for remembering what is this 7 wastes of lean is all about. So yes, transport. So transport waste of a material which is not going to add value to it. So a poor layout of a material which moves from one machine to another machine is what we call it as the transport waste. And inventory waste, so a stock, waste, space and effort. So this particular inventory, the waste has 2. Okay, so the particular one is the space that is required to dump any waste material, or the space that is required to put in the effort. So those things come under the inventory waste. And the motion, So the motion of man or equipment that does not add value to the product or service is called as the motion. Particularly it is caused by poor workstation layout and the poor method design and the large batch sizes and the reorientation of metal. The sequencing of metal or the ordering of metal, if it is placed somewhere around, and if a particular has to be placed in C1 and if that is placed in C2, then we are in need to go and search C2 and we have to come back to C1 and place that material and we have to take it again and work. That is also is not going to add value to my product. So that is motion based. Waiting. So any for example, if a operator is given a job of quality checking one particular product, for example, again if I am going to take this particular mobile phone, if I want to quality check for 1 week, the time allotted is 1 week and the days taken is 10 days, means that 3 days time is the waiting time for the quality check for this particular material. So that is called as the waiting waste. And the overproduction. For example, if a customer is saying that I need only 2 products and you manufacture 5 products and keep it in inventory, then that is the overproduction. And over processing. For example, again, if I am going to process for 5 minutes and if I process for 10 minutes, means there will be some defects that is going to happen place in that particular work area. That is the over processing. For that, the raw material waste occurs and there will be standardization which is not proper, so that the quality it will get affected. And the defect waste. So we all know that defect waste. So right first time, avoid scrap and the rework. So most of the defects are happening because of inadequate training, skill shortage and the excessive stock and the operator error. And finally the additional waste. So additional waste is nothing but creativity, resources and the byproduct. So these are also called to be the additional waste for the particular lean manufacturing process. So again, these are the 7 ways. I'm just giving you a glimpse of it. The overproduction, inventory, waiting, and motion, transportation, rework, and the overprocessing. So these are all the 7 ways that is concerned in this MUDA term, which is called as the waste in this lean manufacturing process. Thank you.